An up and coming Massachusetts rapper loses his life in a Vermont Canadian border town. What's up, everyone? Welcome back. First off, I hope everyone had a great holiday with zero drama. I don't think that's possible, but still, I wish it was possible. The video I'm bringing you today wasn't the one I was initially going to do. I was researching some videos for a future project when I bumped into this story. I don't have an excess of extra time this week with the holidays and my kids on school break, but when I started to unravel this story for myself, I quickly changed my video topic for the week. Hopefully, I'm not mistaken and people will find this story very interesting. It struck a personal chord with me because when I first saw this young man's Jetpack TV rap performance, I instantly recognized him as a kid I was in a holding cell with at intake in 2017 at Middleton Jail. Then, when I began to further search his name, I found that he had passed with all these wild circumstances surrounding the incident and his life in general. I quickly decided a video must be made. So, ladies and gentlemen, sit back and enjoy a brief tale about a talented young man from Massachusetts who left this world far too early before he was able to have his breakout moment. So, when I previously said that I began to unravel this story for myself, what I meant was like almost always, I was late to the party. Not only did I just find out that rapper Fetti Gz's real name Elijah Oliver passed away, but I also just found his music. I was literally blown away when I heard the song Hard Time, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the most viewed video on the Jetpack TV channel. Which, if you've never heard of or seen this channel, it's awesome. They showcase local talent from all over the place. On their Massachusetts segments, they cover all types of artists from Boston, but also from cities all over Massachusetts. It's a great way to discover rappers you have never heard of otherwise, so big props to them for what they do. I instantly recognized the face and the name of this talented MC. He had introduced himself in the holding cell that we shared in Middleton as Fetti from Haverhill. He was younger and smaller than, but still easily recognizable. I'm going to do my best to explain his story to those of you who have never heard of him. Please, I just want to say this to all his people. No disrespect is intended on his name in the making of this video. I just wanted to bring to light his life and talent for those who have never heard of him. When you go to jail, you hear a lot of stories. People most times speak about their actions on the street in a grandiose way. I first went to jail at 18 and learned that you can't believe 90% of the stuff you hear in there. I'm being generous with the 90%. So at the age of 34, with a baby at home, I had just gotten kicked out of the Salvation Army, violated probation. Things weren't going well, to say the least. I had been in a court holding cell all day. Now I was in a holding cell at Middleton's intake. I was tired, hungry, definitely depressed when they put this young, braggadocious kid in my cell. The last thing I wanted to hear was some kid talking smack about who he was on the street, and of course, that he was a rapper. Who in jail isn't an aspiring rapper? Either way, when I finally made it to 248, which was insane in 2017, by the way, I learned that at least this kid's street pedigree was what he said it was. I heard plenty of people saying his name on the block. There was a lot of stuff going on in Haverhill at that time, and in Middleton Jail for that matter as well. In 2016, there was an important incident at Swayze Field in Haverhill, Mass. There had been escalating tension in the city for years between two dominant factions, but by all accounts, this is when things really began to heat up. I lived in Haverhill in 2011, right on Winter Street, which is kind of in the middle of everything. Nichols Street and the avenues were behind me. I believe it's 4th through like 7th Avenue that are the hottest. Then you could walk down Winter Street into Lafayette Square, which is where I spent most of my time in Haverhill. Off of Lafayette Square is the infamous High Street, which leads up to the Mount Washington neighborhood. Washington Street and the surrounding neighborhoods is where the majority of this conflict was centered. When I lived in Haverhill, there was a lot going on, and it's always had a reputation as a tough city. But citizens had never seen the levels of violence that occurred over the years of 2016 to 2019. The mayor, James Fiorentini, made a few videos titled Minute with the Mayor, prompting residents not to panic and to let police and city officials do their job. Someone a while back, when my channel was still relatively new, asked me to make a video about this conflict and the story of Nike Cologne, who passed away in 2018. Now that I've been making more content that I prefer to make, I would like to further discuss this in greater detail in a future video. But I need to hear from people that are close to the situation first, though, so I know how to proceed. It's a very touchy situation when speaking of people have passed, especially so recently. I was nervous even to make this video because I don't want to upset Fetti's people, but to me it's an incredible story that deserves to be told. The dude had a great backstory and he was incredibly talented. Listen to this song Hard Time and tell me it's not fire. I'm speaking purely from a musical standpoint without the street politics involved. First off, the beat is slamming. His cadence and delivery are perfect, but it's the substance of the lyrics. He paints such a vivid picture of being locked up, the smells of the cell from a dude detoxing off the street, worrying about your code flipping in a different cell, segregation affecting your mental health, family getting mad at you because you're always in the box. He says, quote, cell fights had my Reebok snitching on me. If you turn the volume up, you can hear the distinct sound that Reeboks make on a cell floor. You can hate if you want, but above all the street stuff, which I'm personally not invested in at all, I'm a rap fan, and it's great music. Now, without trying to speak ill of the dead, it was said that Oliver was active in this conflict. The Lawrence Eagle Tribune, the Merrimack Valley's top news source, which I believe owns my city's newspaper, the Gloucester Daily Times, as well, stated that Oliver's Lowell Street home in Haverhill had been targeted several times by rivals during this conflict. He was well known to the Haverhill police as well, and in one particular instance embarrassed them pretty good. In 2018, the Haverhill PD arrested Oliver and secured him in the back of the cruiser to transport him to the station. After he started moving around, as the officer described, in a manner that resembled trying to place his cuffs in the front of his body, the officer pulled over the cruiser to find out what Oliver was doing. A weapon that the officer claimed was not previously in the side panel of the back door was now there. On the initial pat and frisk, no weapons were found on Oliver, and now there was one in the back of the cruiser, and the officer accused Oliver of placing it there. Obviously, this made the Haverhill PD look bad to a certain extent. How could they have missed it on the initial frisk just to let the detained man dump it in the cruiser? Naturally, Oliver and his lawyer argued it wasn't his. Now the police and the DA had to prove it was his. Honestly, I find it funny. I've heard of things like this happening, and who hasn't accidentally lost a bag in a cruiser once upon a time? But a piece is a different situation. It's easier for an officer to locate in a pat down. I mean, it's metal. He certainly at least made the Haverhill PD look sloppy. I'm sure there was no love lost between he or them. Eventually, in 2020, he pled guilty to a possession of a weapon and took a 2.5 year sentence. Now, usually those types of sentences would be served in a county detention center, but the way it was written was that it was his choice to take a state bid over a county one. This might seem strange to some people, but to people who have been to Middleton jail, especially relatively recently, it's rumored that doing state time is much better than doing Essex County time. So Fetti, aka Elijah Oliver, only did a year of his sentence, being released in 2021. There isn't a lot out there. I'm not sure if he paroled or if he wrapped up, but overall it was a relatively short sentence, especially for state prison. When he got out, he started to make music and started to become recognized. This is a segment where there isn't a lot of information out there, so if someone knows more about this time period, could they please hit up the comments? It was just a very short time between the release and his death, so that's why I assume there isn't much information out there. In my opinion, he was right on the verge of becoming noticed. His Jetpack TV performance has over 130,000 views, the most on the channel. Now I'm not sure if this came out after he passed, the video is only a year old. I feel like he was just starting to make some moves in the rap game and people were taking notice. But unfortunately, he just didn't have enough time for his rap career to take off before death came knocking on his door. Some of his most other viewed songs on YouTube are collaborations with other local artists. Another banger in my opinion is Double XL with Lawrence rapper 33 Static. 33 Static is another Massachusetts rapper that's created a bit of a buzz. I like him. He's also showcased on Jetpack TV as well. I've heard he gets 5K for a feature. Not too shabby. In my opinion though, Fetti steals the track on Double XL. 33 Static goes first and delivers a very solid verse, but Fetti comes in last and spits an extra hard verse showing off his versatile skills. In his collab with Mob for Night Terrors, he drops a superior verse as well, in my opinion. It was clear that this young man had something that 99% of the other aspiring rappers in jail do not possess: talent. It seems that the streets, social media, and to a certain degree the industry was beginning to take notice as well. In the meantime, before the legitimate rap money that would have surely started coming in soon appeared, he needed some cash flow. Now, I have to say that this is my personal theory why he ended up on the Vermont Canada border and led to the circumstances of his unfortunate death. Now, when I first began to unravel this story, I first found out he passed when I started searching for more of his music on YouTube after the Jetpack TV video. The videos that I first saw describing his death claimed it had to do with him posting something disrespectful on social media about a Brooklyn drill rapper that passed away. Now, Fetti's people apparently got really mad at this YouTuber. I hope they don't get mad at me like that, please. But this guy had the story all wrong. He clearly didn't know anything about Elijah Oliver or his backstory, or the fact that when he passed, he was basically in the middle of nowhere, way up in the Northeast Kingdom. I had a friend who used to live up there, and believe me when I say it's the middle of nowhere. It's nothing like you or I imagine living our day to day life like. Life up there is extremely slow. Most of the towns slash villages don't even have local police. State troopers might roll through once a day or so. I'm going to assume that people got so mad at this YouTuber because it was directly after Fetti had passed and it was a fresh wound. He was so wrong with his info, and because he made a response video and it was crazy disrespectful. Now, like I said, I'm only theorizing why he was up there in Vermont, and I really hope people don't get mad at me for that. But with my knowledge of what that area is like and from what the newspaper and court documents depict, it paints a pretty clear picture in my head of what was going on. Like I said, things are very slow in northern Vermont, and there's not a lot to do. So naturally, when people are bored, a lot of times bad habits will seep in. Like I said, with the lack of police presence in the border towns and in northern Vermont in general, sometimes people go up there to disappear. People on the run, or possibly people doing illicit things. People and items cross the border regularly, but because of the proximity, supply chains can be irregular. This can lead to dramatically inflated prices on goods. Without beating around the bush, items sold in Haverhill go for an extremely higher price in northern Vermont. I can't think of any other reason that Fetti would be found himself in the tiny border town of Swanton, Vermont, other than this. In February of 2022, not even a year after being released from his prison sentence, Elijah Oliver was discovered in a house on First Street in Swanton, Vermont. Apparently, the house was the center of a lot of illicit activity in the small border town. Police were called after anonymously being tipped off that there was a deceased person at the address. Upon arrival, they found Oliver, who had been hit several times in the torso and had previously died before the authorities had arrived. Right from the beginning, the authorities were pretty sure of the motive. Upon an investigation, they charged two other men from Swanton with federal weapons charges. In the investigation that followed, they found that these two men were involved with another man from the neighboring town of Colchester, Vermont, named Dominique Troop. Apparently, Troop was the premier salesman in the border town and didn't take too kindly to other people setting up in the small area. Police believe that it could have been initially a robbery that went south and ended up in Oliver's death. I'm no genius, but Dominique Troop sounds more like a French Canadian name from the border in Quebec than anyone connected to the Brooklyn drill scene. I really don't think social media posts had anything to do with this crime, especially with the remoteness of the location. To put into context the area for you guys, police followed ski-mobile tracks to find out where these guys hid the weapon. That's right, these guys were using ski-mobiles in connection with their crimes. It's kind of strange though that as far as I know, these guys involved haven't ever been charged with Fetti's actual death. The two Swanton men were charged with weapon charges, and Troop was only charged with conspiracy. Basically, that all the things that happened were directly involved with Troop's narcotics business. I'm not sure if it's because no one will cooperate with the authorities and tell them what actually happened, so in turn they're only going to charge them with the crimes that they know they will get convictions for. I'm not exactly sure, but that seems like the most plausible reason to me. Either way, in February of 2022, rap fans in the city of Haverhill, Mass lost a real one. Elijah Oliver, aka Fetti Gz, never got a chance to reach his full potential. He was barely out of prison and his come up was cut short. Perhaps this story won't resonate as much as I thought it would, and it only really clicked with me because of my personal interaction with him. I'm not sure, but we'll find out. Regardless of all the street politics, you can't deny that he had talent. Shout out to Jetpack TV for showing that there are a lot of talented rappers in the Bay State, and you most likely have never heard of a lot of them. People might sneer, but Boston/Massachusetts has a real and thriving drill scene. Now, this has been traditionally hard for Boston and Mass guys, but if they can set the street politics aside, I think that the local scene could really break out and get broader attention for the talent it possesses. In my opinion, this is now and always has been the one thing that stands in their way. It's not a lack of talent, that's for sure. Again, by no means was there any disrespect meant to Fetti or anyone involved in the conflict in Haverhill. A lot of things I said in this video were my personal opinions, and I stress that. Other stuff that I spoke on can be found on the internet or in newspapers. Please hit up the comments if I was wrong about anything. Please let me know. And if you'd like to speak to me about information for further videos on this topic, please reach out on the comments or through my email. I hope you guys enjoyed this quick video. I'm glad I was able to get one out this week. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to. It's an amazing story and really a tragedy. If he hadn't passed away, I believe by this point, everybody who's a rap fan would have heard of him by now. Please go check out what music of his is out there. I hope his people have more of his stuff saved to listen to in the future. I hope everyone has a happy, healthy, and safe new year. I have so much amazing stuff coming for you guys. I think I need to start doing this full time. Thank you guys for all the support this year. It's been amazing. RIP to Fetti, Nike, and anyone else that's passed away in the streets. Prayers are with the families. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. But most importantly, guys, make good choices, make good decisions, be good to yourself, your family, your friends, your fellow human beings. Try to have a good day. I'll talk to you guys soon. God bless.